Hello and welcome. My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to our stamp set of the week, Sunshine and Tulips. It's a bundle, so it's a stamp set and a set of dies. And I think we're going to be all about the dies this week, but we're going to start this week today just using the images on the stamp set. So let's see what we've got. So there are 4 images and the rest are all sentiments. So you've got this leaf, a head of a flower, and then its second layer. So I would say it's the tulip. You have a row of tulips here, and then you've got sentiments. Sending a garden of love. Hello, thinking of you. Good days ahead. Thanks for your thoughtfulness. And if friends were flowers, I'd pick you. That's quite a nice one. And then, so there's 10 in there. And then we've got 10 dies. So as you can see, there is a focal image here that's a die cut. You've got a sentiment strip. You've got 3 heads for the flowers. And then you've got, I would say they're more to do with the flowers than they are to do with the leaves. But we'll find out when we investigate on Wednesday. Okay, so let's have a quick look at today's card, which is this one here. It's got an embossed background and it's got this focal image here with the tulips and obviously just a simple happy birthday. So let's bring in the supplies. So I have got a piece of blackberry bliss that measures 8 inches by 5 3/4. I have a piece of white cardstock which is 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and then I have the strip which is the focal bit. That measures 2 inches by 4 3/4. And then I have a backing piece of blackberry bliss. Now this is really tiny, the border. It's 2 1/8 by 4 7/8. It just gives you that little pop of colour against the white. And then of course we have our sentiment strip, which is 1/2 inch by 2 3/4. Okay, so let's start with the stamping. So the first thing we need to do is to use our focal image. Now I'm going to use my gadget. Now you can do this by hand, but this just helps to make the lines a lot straighter. If you're good at eye and watching where you're putting it all, then this is perfect. You don't need to have this gadget. But if you're like me and it comes a little bit wobbly, then this gadget is ideal for you. Okay, so this is the smaller this is the smaller one. There is a larger one for larger images, but we're actually going to focus on this one today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the head of the tulip and we're going to position it. I'm positioning it in between these 2 little dots here, and I'm going to put my head just there. Okay, so it's more up to the top than down to the bottom because you're going to put leaves in here in a moment. So you put your gadget over the top and you push down, and that will pick up your head. Okay, take your colour, which I'm using Gorgeous Grape, and what we're going to do is we're just going to ink this up. Okay, turn it over. Now the good thing about this is you don't do anything until you push it down. So there's nothing on the paper until you push it down. So just push it down with your finger and let it come back up again. And there's your first one. Carry on, do the next one. Again, nothing's pushed down. Push it down and let it pop up again. If you find you've got an edge there that isn't quite correct, you simply just push back down again and it fills it in for you. So you're going to repeat this all the way across the page until you get right to the the very end. Push it down. Okay. Oops, look at that. There we go. So you're going to go all the way across to the very end, and then you're going to take your next one. So let's take the next one, take that one off, and you're going to bring in the tulip base. So I'm going to position that right over the top there, like so. Again, I'm going to bring in my plate, pick it up carefully, and then at this time I'm going to use the Blackberry Bliss. I'm going to go stamp it, put it over the top. Again, nothing has been inked until you press it down. Okay, so you've got one there. And then again over the second one. Okay, when you've gone all the way across, you're going to go to your next one. So I'm just going to close my Blackberry Bliss up so I don't actually put my hand in it, because knowing me, that's what I'll end up doing. Squeak, squeak. And then you're going to bring in your leaf. Okay. And then that sits down the bottom here, like so. Okay, bring your plate in, push it down, pick it up, and then I'm using the shaded spruce. And then that plate down, push down, and it goes all the way across. And then you can do it on the second one. Okay, there you go. Now, when you've done it all the way across, it's going to look like, she says trying to pick it up, like that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to do the sentiment. And as a Monday, I have forgotten the sentiment. So let's bring it out. There we go. Happy birthday. Bring my block in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the, I think I'm going to go for the, let's go for the shaded spruce. So ink that up. And pop that down. So there is all our stamping out of the way. So the next thing we need to do is to take our white piece by 3 3/4 by 5.5, and we're going to pop it into the embossing folder. So the one I'm using is Hearts of Love. You're going to pop it through there like so. So it's going to go in sideways like that, and then we're going to run it through the cut and emboss machine. So bear with me and I'll be straight back. So I've run it through the cut and emboss. So it's a big plate, your embossing folder, your paper, and then the grey plate that goes over the top. As you can see, mine is well and truly loved. Let's put this aside and take it out of the embossing folder. So it looks like that. Right, so now all we need to do is to put our card together. So we're going to need some dimensionals, and we're going to need a bit of glue. Right, so, oh, don't want that bit. So you can score this at the 4-inch mark or fold it, whichever is your preferred method. And then we're going to glue down our embossing folder. Piece of paper. Not the embossing folder, but the piece of paper that's been embossed. There we go. And that sits on there like that. Perfect. Now we're going to attach our focal image to its backing card. And then, because this is such a bumpy area, I'm actually going to use my dimensionals. I'm going to put one in each corner. And one in the middle. And take the backings off. Oops. And then I'm not going to put it step in the middle because I want the sentiment. I'm going to move it up, but there's just a little heart here at the top. And I don't want to cover that. So let's put that there. There we go. And then we're going to bring in the sentiment, and that's going to go down here at the bottom. And again, I'm going to put that on dimensionals as it's quite bumpy. So we're going to use 3. There we go. And there we are. We have our 2 cards for Monday. So thank you ever so much for joining me. I hope you like that design. Don't forget, I'll be back on Wednesday and we will be looking at the dies. Take care. Bye.